One of the poster boys of the startup universe is joining us on the show, Ritesh Agarwal, the Group CEO of Prism and CEO of Oyo Rooms. Good to have you with us, Ritesh. Ritesh, we're talking about where we are in that entire startup universe. India now boasting of more than 125 unicorns. There is tighter funding, though. So I wanted to ask you where Oyo is placed. How are you adapting to growth? And if you are focusing more on sustainability over rapid scale, how are we doing?
Hey, thank you so much for having me here. I think these 10 years has been a transformational period in our ecosystem more broadly, because 10 years ago, back in 2016, when we just got started, I think, Honorable Prime Minister mentioned this morning as well, that I was at the back bench trying to just build a fledgling startup. And in the last 10 years, we are today one of the largest digital hospitality companies around the world. And hence, naturally, the priorities of companies have also evolved, wherein earlier, a lot of priorities were focused on saying, how do you get market share? How do you make sure that a new technology can reach big scale? Whereas today, it is increasingly, how do you make sure that that same scale can translate into profitable growth? So you want growth, but you also want to make sure it is sustainable. It's just not true for Prism and Oyo. It is true for so many other companies that were there. But most importantly, it was very emotional for me because, Honorable Prime Minister 10 years ago had called out Startup India as being a transformative impact with less than 500 startups. And today with 2 lakh startups, I think he once again called out that he'd seen me as somebody sitting on the back benches last time. And this time, we've been able to come from nothing to be a something. And that's not true for us. That's true for lakhs of other companies across the country.
So perhaps very true, Ritesh, when you're talking about transformation, but also we're talking about startups from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and they seem to be driving a big part of the entire ecosystem. So you tell us about Oyo. How are you tapping into the smaller cities, still maintaining profitability, still having that operational discipline? It's an important piece, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I think the Indian tier 2, tier 3 is arrived here fully. I think the real story is actually in even the smaller tier, which is the tier 4, tier 5. Over the last 5 days, I have been in Nagpur. I was at Navsari, Badoli, Trivandrum, so many places over the last 1 week, meeting a lot of entrepreneurs who are powering up the Oyo and the Prism revolution. Because our company merely connects individual businesses, helps them with the technology and renovation standards to connect with customers and get the right brand. So at every single day, we are creating double-digit number of entrepreneurs ourselves, but we are just one of the many. I think when I go to my hometown in Rayagada, in Odisha, where I come from, where most friends of mine, if they see me what I'm doing today, and you ask them 10 years ago that would I create this, I think most of them would say not possible at all. So to that extent, I think there are many other young Riteshes nationally in both Gaya, in Raigada, who are going to create multi-billion-dollar companies.
But even in this tougher funding environment, Ritesh, the funding environment is getting tougher. How is a young entrepreneur going to be able to balance innovation with financial discipline to be able to get ahead in these tough times when it comes to funding?
See, it is all relative, right? I think when we started 10 years ago, my first round was double-digit amount of lakhs for a double-digit % dilution if we were to discuss a tougher funding cycle. So I think we are significantly better than where we were 10 years ago. There is a massive 10,000 crore fund of funds that the government has set up. There are more venture capitalists and AIFs today powering the startup story than ever before. There are more enterprise companies or scaled up startups which are public today than ever before. There is more foreign capital coming to India than ever before. So my perspective is we've come a long way from where we started. But naturally, we would like to attract even more capital. As I was telling today in the morning, as entrepreneurs, the dreams are always much bigger. And hence, when people are just about starting, there is more support required from domestic capital, which I'm already seeing. I'm seeing a lot of family offices, individuals who have benefited from startups reinvesting as well.
So a lot of transformation is likely to happen. Despite tougher funding environment, it's not going to stop this entire engine of growth that is being driven by our startup ecosystem, and that's very reassuring. Ritesh, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on this. Appreciate you joining us on India Business Report.